This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Izz-ad-Din Qassam Brigades, the military wing for the Islamic resistance movement Hamas, announced that the ceasefire agreement with Israel is no longer valid because Israel has ended it a long time ago. It added that today's rocket attacks on Israeli settlements are a natural response to the crimes committed by the occupation. Moreover, Hamas vowed to respond with more rocket attacks if Israel carries out an aggressive action against the movement. We're now joined by Gaza by our correspondent Wael, in which context do these new developments come?
يعني هي في سياق الوضع أو المربع الذي وضعه الجانب الإسرائيلي وبالتحديد الجيش الإسرائيلي الذي دأب خلال الأسبوعين الماضيين على إطلاق تهديدات بعملية موسعة داخل قطاع غزة. هذا من ناحية.
They come in the context of the ongoing Israeli campaign against the Palestinian people. During the past 2 weeks, the Israeli army has warned that it will carry out a wide-scale military operation in the Gaza Strip. Moreover, the Israeli occupation continues to take aggressive measures against Palestinians in the West Bank. Almost on a daily basis, the Israeli forces carry out sweeps in the Palestinian territories, targeting, killing, and detaining Palestinian activists. The Palestinian president and his prime minister Ismail Haniyeh have exerted a tremendous amount of effort to convince factions of the resistance in the Gaza Strip to help make the ceasefire agreement hold for an additional 3 weeks. Meanwhile, the Palestinian resistance said that the Israeli military measures adopted in the occupied territories are aggressive and unjustifiable. Therefore, Palestinian factions have no choice but to resume rocket attacks on Sidrat and other Israeli settlements. The Qassam Brigades, which launched today dozens of rocket and mortar attacks into Israel, announced that the ceasefire agreement with Israel has indeed ended. Israel has not yet reacted to this news due to its observance of the 59th anniversary. It seems that the conflict between Palestinians and Israelis might escalate to a new level. This news comes amidst a warning that Israel intends to carry out a wide-scale offensive in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli military issued a 48-hour warning that it will carry out an incursion in the Gaza Strip if Palestinians do not stop the launch of rockets into Israel. All Palestinian resistance factions announced that they were fully equipped to encounter any Israeli aggression. They also believe that the Israeli escalation may help them put their differences aside. As far as the ceasefire agreement is concerned, the following statement was issued by Abu Obaida, the spokesman for the Izz-ad-Din Qassam Brigades.
البيت الفلسطيني الداخلي. على أي حال حول موضوع التهدئة وانتهائها من قبل كتائب القسام كان هذا التصريح من قبل الناطق باسم كتائب القسام أبو عبيدة.
This morning, Al-Qassam Brigades shelled our Zionist rape land around the Gaza Strip. This news comes in the context of our natural response to the crimes committed by the Zionist occupation. However, it does not come in the context of ending the ceasefire agreement, which has ended a long time ago by the occupation. The occupation violated the ceasefire agreement from the moment it was signed. Since the ceasefire agreement was signed, the occupation widened its criminal campaign in the West Bank and carried out aggressions, including air and naval strikes in the Gaza Strip. Consequently, the truce no longer exists because it has ended a long time ago.
Under tight security, Israel is celebrating its 59th Independence Day. Security forces and firefighters have been on high alert throughout the country, protecting Israel's cities, parks, picnic grounds, and forests. The West Bank is under a full closure after intelligence has received of 9 Palestinian terror plots aimed at Israeli civilians. But while the north and center of the country remained calm, a volley of dozens of Qassam rockets and mortar shells struck the south. There were no injuries. IBA's Laura Cornfield has the story.
For the first time in 5 months, the military wing of Hamas claimed responsibility for the rocket strikes, saying they were in revenge for IDF operations over the weekend, in which 9 Palestinian gunmen were killed.
What happened today and yesterday from Al Qassam is a normal response to against this type of violence and the crime against our Palestinians.
An IDF spokesman confirmed 7 attempts to fire Qassams at Israel, but said only 2 of them landed inside Israel. 6 mortars fell in the western Negev, causing minor damage, but no casualties. Israeli officials say that even during the so-called ceasefire, Palestinians fired over 200 Qassam rockets into Israel.
Well, our worry was that actually they didn't keep the ceasefires they've promised. There were attempts to penetrate the country with car bombs, and we didn't have a choice but to prevent it.
The armed wing of Hamas said today that its truce with Israel no longer exists. Israeli security sources warned this afternoon that Israel will not allow the Palestinian Unity government to serve as a cover for terrorism. The sources said Israel views the latest rocket attack with the utmost gravity and will respond at a time and in a manner that it deems fit.
And our reporter adds that IDF sources believe today's rocket barrage from Gaza was a diversionary tactic intended to provide covering fire for the kidnapping of another IDF soldier. Israeli Air Force helicopter gunships responded by attacking Qassam and mortar launching crews along the border with Gaza. Prime Minister Olmert will hold consultations tomorrow on the situation in Gaza. Olmert discussed the situation in a phone call from U.S. President George Bush this afternoon. The president called to congratulate Olmert on Israel's Independence Day. Thousands of right-wing Israeli activists today defied a government ban and arrived at the former settlement of Homesh in the West Bank. 2 IDF soldiers were slightly wounded in a brief clash with some of the marchers. Earlier this week, the army revoked its decision to allow settlers and activists to march to Homesh, which was evacuated and destroyed as part of the 2005 disengagement plan. Settler leaders said today they were determined to correct the enormous mistake made in evacuating Homesh. Nobel Prize laureate Professor Yisrael Oman joined the 4-hour march from the nearby settlement of Shavei Shomron. The army said it was impossible to prevent the thousands of people from reaching the former settlement. For their part, the marchers promised to leave the site by this evening.
The security situation continues to deteriorate in Iraq. A booby-trapped car exploded outside an American military base in Diyala, killing 9 American soldiers and injuring 20 others. This was one of the most violent attacks against Americans in years. We leave you with Asmahan Khouri.
في كل مرة ترتفع أعمدة الدخان في سماء بلاد الرافدين ترفع معها عدد الضحايا وتنذر بمزيد من القتل والدمار. فضحايا الموت في العراق هم غالبا من المدنيين سواء استهدفت التفجير.
Every time smoke rises in the sky of the land of the 2 rivers, it is a sign of more death and destruction. Regardless whether the intended targets were checkpoints or police stations, the casualties often tend to be civilians. Today, however, was an exception. A booby-trapped vehicle exploded outside an American military base in Diyala, killing 9 American soldiers and injuring 20 others. This is one of the most violent attacks against the American forces since 2003.
إلا أن الخطة الأمنية التي بدأ تطبيقها منذ شهرين وضعت الجنود الأمريكيين في أماكن تتمتع
American soldiers used to be safer in their fortified bases, which were subjected to relatively fewer attacks. But the new security plan that has been implemented for the past 2 months made them less secure in Baghdad and neighboring areas. This explains why they now have to face higher risks. Now one can often see more American military vehicles damaged by armed attacks. During the month of April, which hasn't ended yet, 85 Americans have been killed. This is the second highest toll in a single month after December of 2006, when 112 American soldiers were killed. The Iraqi forces find themselves in the middle of deadly armed attacks and U.S. pressure to achieve a victory that seems to be unattainable.
البيت الأبيض على تسجيل نصر ما لا يبدو أنه قابل للتحقيق.
وشريط الأمن العراقي المفقود لا ينتهي هنا. بالقرب من معقوبة هاجم مسلحون بزي الشرطة عددا.
The lack of security does not stop here. Armed individuals wearing police uniforms attacked a number of homes in Baqouba, killing 6 people and injuring 15 others. 2 booby-trapped cars exploded near the Iranian embassy in Al-Salahiyya. This attack raises the number of booby-trapped cars that exploded in the same location and in less than 24 hours to 4. In addition, 15 bodies with signs of gunshots were found in different areas of the city.
15 جثة قتل أصحابها بالرصاص.
Meanwhile, the American plan to build a separation wall in Al-Azmiya continues to generate controversy. Although the Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki had ordered the construction of this wall to be stopped, General Qasim Atta, who is in charge of implementing the Enforcing the Rule of Law security plan, confirmed that more security barriers continue to be built in Al-Azmiya as well as other areas. The new American ambassador to Iraq, Ryan Crocker, expressed reservations about halting the construction of the separation wall during his first press conference since he took his post. Crocker said that the subject matter is still being discussed with the Iraqi government.
Azmi Beshara, a prominent Israeli Arab lawmaker and a parliament member who is currently under police criminal investigation, has submitted his resignation from the Knesset via the Israeli embassy in Cairo. According to a spokesman for the Israeli Knesset, the news of Beshara's resignation is sketchy and his government is currently verifying it. Beshara said that if he wants to return to Israel, he would not be able to leave for several years. He added that it will take more than 3 years of investigation and trials, even if he's to be found innocent, before the court can reach a verdict in the case. Meanwhile, some of Beshara's supporters cast doubt that Israel reserves the right to investigate Beshara over unspecified criminal allegations.
I planned to resign from the Knesset back in 2006. I fulfilled my parliamentary duties and accomplished my objectives. I've worked in the parliament for nearly 11 years and was elected 4 times during that period. Parliamentary work is stormy and time-consuming. I've made gigantic political changes in the Israeli parliament. Once again, I think my parliamentary role has come to an end. In fact, I planned to quit last year, but I put it off because I needed more time to complete certain legislation that I started. This year I tried to resign, but they started the investigation and the process to take away my immunity, so I put it off again. Currently, while I am abroad, they intensified their campaign against me. Some Israeli ultra-right legislators started to mount pressure on the Knesset to take away my diplomatic immunity and suspend my parliamentary privileges. I did not want to give them the opportunity to do this to me, so I threw the immunity back to them. I don't hide behind the immunity, and I don't want anything to do with their parliament. Consequently, I resigned from the parliament. I, and not they, who decide the rules of the game. Once again, it was my decision to resign from the parliament.
Azmi Beshara has submitted his resignation from the Knesset to Israel's ambassador in Cairo. With this, Beshara has ended 10 years of his political life as a public figure serving in the Israeli parliament. In 1996, Beshara established the National Democratic Assembly, which has 3 representatives at the Israeli parliament. Beshara, who is currently on a vacation outside Israel, said that he resigned from the parliament because he wants to devote more time to writing and give an opportunity to a close friend to take his place in the Knesset. Meanwhile, Beshara's supporters believe that this Israeli campaign against the National Democratic Assembly and its leadership and the Palestinian minority inside Israel had something to do with his resignation. The Israeli police said last week that they are investigating Beshara on unspecified criminal charges. No details of the charges were available due to a court's gag order on the case.
Beshara resigned after Israel started to investigate him. He resigned because he does not want to hide behind diplomatic immunity. He did not want Israel's right wing or others to suggest that he used immunity to escape the charges.
It seems that Beshara's resignation and the charges facing him came with no surprise to members and supporters of the National Democratic Assembly. It is not clear whether Azmi Beshara intends to return to his home in the 1948 territories. During his reign, Beshara has introduced some new ideologies and principles which help improve the relationship between Israel and its Arab citizens. One of these ideologies introduced by Beshara was the concept of nationality, which seeks to transform Israel from a Jewish state only to a state for all of its citizens.
The National Democratic Assembly is an organized coalition that has its own institutions and enjoys popular support among Israeli Arabs. It has its own political program, agenda, and ideology. I would like to assure everyone that the coalition is doing well, and it will navigate through this political storm with a great deal of self-confidence and inner strength.
The National Democratic Assembly might rely on the support of Palestinians and Israeli Arabs to form a popular front that will help it counter the Israeli campaign against its leadership. However, Israel and the Israeli media may take a different approach and use the standoff to their advantage.
According to news reports leaked to us, Israeli media plans to launch a forceful campaign against legislator Azmi Beshara, the National Democratic Assembly, and the entire Arab community inside Israel. They want to present Israeli Arabs as a fifth column who pose a security threat for Israel.
It seems that the case of Azmi Beshara exceeded the personal level and indeed overshadowed the entire country. The outcome of this case depends on how it is played out by both parties, Israel and the National Democratic Assembly.
لبرنامج المدار شيرين يونس قناة أبو ظبي الناصرة.
In Beirut, the huge hole that was caused by the February 14, 2005 explosion, killing the former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafiq al-Hariri, is being refilled. An international investigation committee will present its report to an international tribunal that will be established through the United Nations after it's approved by constitutional institutions in Lebanon.
1,800 kilograms of explosives were used against the former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafiq al-Hariri and members of his motorcade. The crater that resulted from this explosion was examined by investigators and experts from the International Investigative Team. It is well known that the concerned security authorities tried to fill up this crater only hours after the explosion. However, they did not succeed, and this site became the most important source of information about what happened on February 14, 2005. Now, after 799 days, an order has been issued to fill up the crater in preparation for the reopening of this street. Of course, this is a sign that the crime scene investigation has been completed. This may or may not coincide with continued UN preparations to establish an international tribunal. This tribunal is the essential part of the local political conflict.
The fact that this was issued by the Security Council means that it is bypassing the Lebanese judicial authority. This also means an increase in interference of Lebanese internal affairs. This makes Lebanon vulnerable to using the tribunal for political purposes, specifically by the United States. It puts Lebanon in danger.
A system was put forth in accordance to international judicial standards, which maintains the independence, immunity, prestige, and transparency of all the possible proceedings of the tribunal. There are international offices that participated in this. We know that the Syrians participated in 50 meetings on this subject and presented all their observations, either directly or through Russia. Thus, all these international investigators cannot possibly carry out the policies of the Americans.
It is known that in the latest meeting with Prime Minister Faoud al-Seniora, the Lebanese government negotiated a new memo to the United Nations asking the international body to take the necessary steps needed to create create the tribunal. Most of the majority members of the parliament are preparing to take similar steps. Of course, all this comes amidst the latest failed attempt to reach a local agreement on the tribunal, which took place days ago in Beirut and was headed by Nicolas Michel, the legal advisor to the UN General Secretary. The tribunal is part of larger headlines that have dominated the media and political debate between the opposition and the majority loyalists within the chamber of the parliament. Parliamentary members remain in a deadlock with no end in sight to settle the Lebanese crisis. As a result, all aspects of this crisis may worsen. This includes the International Tribunal, the government, and the presidential elections.
Prime Minister Fouad Seniora took his campaign for an international tribunal to Egypt yesterday, where he held talks with President Hosni Mubarak and Arab League Chief Amr Moussa consecutively. Seniora reiterated that all efforts will be exerted to have the international court established. He also said that the Shibah farms are better off placed under UN jurisdiction, since Syria has been refusing to cooperate on the issue.
Prime Minister Fouad Seniora said he wants to place the Israeli-occupied Shibah farms under UN jurisdiction, as Syria has been refusing to cooperate on the issue. In remarks published by the media today, Seniora accused Syria of keeping the Shibah farms issue as is by not taking any steps to determine the exact borders of the disputed farmland. The Prime Minister said that Syria, which had previously agreed to place Shibah under UN control, has changed its stance, adding that Damascus was now saying that the property falls under United Nations Security Council Resolution 242 and not Resolution 425. Seniora, who held talks with Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak in Cairo yesterday, told reporters that all efforts will be exerted and all means exhausted until an international tribunal is established. He stressed such a tribunal must be created to put an end to assassinations, protect democracy, and guarantee freedom for the Lebanese people. While Egypt made no immediate comment on Seniora's talks with Mubarak, Seniora said Cairo had long supported his government and was trying to find some sort of reconciliation among the rival Lebanese camps. Seniora said his government is still open for dialogue and hoped Hezbollah would be the same. Later yesterday, Seniora met Arab League Chief Amr Moussa. He said Moussa would resume his efforts when there is real progress in the talks among the Lebanese factions.
We present to you the report that was prepared by Tamer al-Shamari from Egypt about Maliki's visit to Cairo.
إيمانية قام بها رئيس الوزراء نور كامل المالكي إلى كل من مقام الإمام الحسين عليه السلام.
Iraqi Prime Minister Noor al-Maliki visited al-Hussein's shrine, peace be upon him, and Al-Azhar. The Egyptian parliament speaker said that he was pleased with the Iraqi visit and confirmed that the Egyptian people stand by the Iraqi people. Maliki, who visited al-Hussein's shrine, peace be upon him, confirmed that his visit to Egypt was fruitful.
لمصر كانت مثمرة.
We were talking about ways to strengthen our relations with the Arab Republic of Egypt. We are honored to have good relations with this large country and its people. We look forward to establishing better relations that would serve the interests of the two countries and nations.
One of Al-Azhar's sheikhs, who was standing outside of the Al-Hussein's shrine, peace be upon him, said that the Iraqi people have been subjected to brutal attacks by certain groups who use religion to justify their crimes.
Protect the lives of those who believe in God and His Messenger Muhammad. Iraq is going through a very critical period, and every Muslim must fear God, who can save this nation from what it has been going through. The Iraqis must unite like they were before.
Al-Azhar Grand Mufti said that all those who have been committing crimes against the Iraqi people are misguided. They have been shedding the blood of Muslims in the name of Islam, but they have nothing to do with Islam. He also said that whoever is committing these crimes against the Iraqi people is not a true Muslim. Sheikh Tantawi made these statements during a meeting with the Iraqi Prime Minister at Al-Azhar.
فرأيت ولم أرى
Iraq is the origin. God be my witness, I do not believe in sectarianism.
Tantawi also talked about the situation in Iraq, saying that there is an ongoing political movement to stop sectarianism and conflict due to Maliki's policy of moderation.
The Iraqi Republic is part of Egypt, and Egypt is part of the Iraqi Republic. We all share the same homeland and the same faith.
Islam has nothing to do with those who commit crimes against the Iraqi people. Al-Azhar's Grand Mufti Muhammad Sa'id Tantawi called anyone supporting those who shed the blood of Muslims, the believers in God and His Messenger, an infidel. Samir Al-Shimmari, Al-Iraqiya Television, Cairo.
Iranian government spokesman Ghulam Hossein Elham said on Tuesday, Iran's nuclear stance is quite clear and transparent. The spokesman made the statement at this week's press briefing in response to a question about the scheduled talks between Supreme National Security Council Secretary Ali Larijani and EU Foreign Policy Chief Javier Solana and Europe's insistence on suspension of uranium enrichment by Iran. Elham added, our nuclear activities are irreversible. Besides, there is no reason to seek an irrational target during the upcoming negotiations. The government spokesman further said Iran is committed to fair talks based on justice and internationally acceptable laws. Foreign Ministry spokesman Mohammad Ali Hosseini says Iran's acquisition of nuclear technology has raised concern in the West, which fears it could consolidate Tehran's position on world stage. Hosseini told students in the northwestern city of Oromia on Tuesday, Iran's nuclear achievements have seen Western countries led by the U.S. to stop at nothing to deny Tehran employment of the peaceful. He said a report by the IAEO chief, which was later confirmed by the IAEA, shows Iran has entered an industrial level of uranium enrichment. Hosseini added sanctions imposed on Iran failed to affect the economy, citing willingness by Asian and Western countries to enter the Iranian. On Iran-EU talks, Hosseini said a fresh round of talks with EU's Solana will start in Turkey on Wednesday, hoping the talks could work out solutions to the issues disputed by the two sides. Moving to Iraq, a suicide truck bomber attacked an Iraqi police checkpoint north of the city of Ramadi Tuesday, killing 13 people, including 4 policemen. The attack shattered windows and damaged all buildings nearby. In Baghdad, 2 more car bombs exploded today in a parking lot outside the Iranian embassy and several Iraqi government buildings, one day after 2 detonated in the same place. Police at the scene said no one was hurt in the blasts. In utter violence, 5 civilians were killed and 25 wounded when mortar shells crashed into the town of Zafarani, south of the war-torn capital. U.S. President George W. Bush, setting the stage for a high-stakes political confrontation, vowed Tuesday to veto a bill that ties Iraq war funds to a non-binding withdrawal deadline of April the 1st, 2008. The $124.2 billion bill calls for withdrawal of most U.S. combat forces from Iraq beginning no later than October the 1st, 2007, with a non-binding goal for completing the pullout by April the 1st, 2008. With a razor-thin majority in Congress, Democrats said they were well aware that they lacked the votes to overcome Bush's threatened veto and already were preparing for the next round of negotiations.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. Please visit linktv.org/Mosaic for more information about these broadcasters or to view previous Mosaic programs, obtain program transcripts, or receive the weekly Mosaic Intelligence Report. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation, the Otto Haas Charitable Trust, and by committed Link TV viewers like you. If you value this program, please send your tax-deductible contribution to Link TV, either through the website or the mailing address listed on your screen. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.